Hey, it's Katarina Polonska here, and let me start with a blunt question. You've built companies, you've moved markets, you've taken companies public, but if I asked your partner right now, do you feel deeply seen, safe, and prioritized by him? What would they actually say? So many male CEOs optimize everything, strategy, capital, talent, but completely underinvest in the one system that powers all of it, their closest relationship. If you're an American male CEO or a senior executive, then this episode is for you, because you might recognize yourself here. You tell yourself that once this quarter closes, I'll be more present. You're physically at home, sure, you're there, but mentally, you are still in your inbox, back at work. And you'd rather stay late at the office than walk into another tense environment in the house. And yet, you've also noticed something really uncomfortable. On the weeks when things are really bad at home, your patience drops, your decision-making is a little bit shakier, and your usual confidence feels like it's running on fumes. Today, we're going to talk about the hidden link between your romantic relationship and its health and your performance as a CEO. And I'll give you 3 concrete shifts that you can start this week that will change both. And stay with me, because by the end of this episode, you will have the structure for one 10-minute conversation that can become the turning point in your relationship and your whole career. Here's the paradox I see with so many high-achieving men. Professionally, you're used to figuring it out. You know your KPIs, you track the numbers, you're able to act really quickly. But when it comes to your personal life, to your love life, you probably are living in a bit of a vague territory where it's kind of like, I guess we're okay, it's not that bad, we don't fight, we don't talk that much, haven't been intimate for a long time. This is what marriage is like when you're successful, right? No, it doesn't have to be that way. Most male CEOs would never tolerate the level of uncertainty that they live with at home if it was happening in their business. So why does this happen so often? Why is it that you can be amazing at work and then feel so crap at home? It's because your entire identity has been built around being the provider, being in control, being the one who fixes things, that dutiful, responsible one. So when the relationship starts to feel difficult, because it will, you do what you've always done. You double down on the thing that you are good at, work. But the problem is, work then becomes a safe refuge, a place to hide from feeling inadequate at home. And over time, this creates a really unhelpful loop. You have disconnection at home, that doesn't feel good. You then invest more time and energy in your work, which then leads to more disconnection at home. And more disconnection at home leads to more stress, less sleep, more reactivity, less productivity. So then it's no longer just a relationship issue. It's actually changing how you are as a leader. It's impacting your work. You're going to be quicker to snap in meetings. You're going to tolerate more underperformance because you don't have the energy to deal with it. And you're going to make decisions from a place of stress and panic instead of feeling really calm, grounded, clear, and good about yourself. If your nervous system is constantly braced for conflict or rejection at home, you cannot consistently show up as your sharpest, most strategic self at work. You just can't. Because your relationship is not separate from your performance. It is literally the emotional infrastructure that you're leading from. It's where you go home every day. So let me introduce you to James. James isn't one person, don't worry, I'm not giving his identity away. He's a combination of several male CEOs that I've worked with, and you might hear parts of yourself in him. James is in his late 40s. He runs a company valued around 500 mil. He's got 2 teenage kids. He's been married for over 20 years. From the outside, he's one. He's got the hot wife, he's got the nice home, he's got the amazing kids. But inside his house, it's a different story. Most nights look like this. He walks in late, he's tired, he's exhausted, his wife's on the couch, scrolling on her phone, probably on Instagram. The kids are in their rooms, and he asks, everything good? And they mumble, yeah, without looking up, and they go upstairs. There's no fighting, there's no drama, it's just a bit flat. So James does what I'm guessing many of you do. He pours himself a drink, he opens his laptop, and he goes back to his zone of competence. The emails, the deals, the numbers. And he tells himself, I'm doing this for them. It's just a season. I'm doing this to put food on the table. It's all for the family. But that season has lasted for 8 years. Because here's what started happening at work. His patience for people issues has plummeted. He started making faster, riskier decisions to chase that next win, that next dopamine hit. He's avoiding deeper conversations with his executive team because he already feels so emotionally drained and honestly quite shut down. And sure, on paper, the company has kept growing, but his leadership quality is actually dropping. He's becoming a bit of a high-functioning robot. You can't keep living like this incredible hero at work who then drags himself in like a ghost at home without it eventually showing up in your leadership. So what changed for James wasn't some massive dramatic event, and no, he didn't have to get divorced. It's when he realized this. Like many men, he had optimized his business for scaling, but he'd never learned how to build a relationship that could actually grow with him. So that's what we're going to start doing for you today. Let's break down 3 patterns I see over and over again with male CEOs and how each one impacts your leadership. Pattern number 1, you've got the provider mask. At home, the provider mask sounds like, I pay for everything, I do everything. Why isn't that enough? I show love by providing security. I put food on the table. And if I'm not pushing this hard, then everything we build is at risk. So you over-index on money, houses, vacations, and you under-index on emotional presence. At work, the provider mask turns into over-responsibility. You carry everything. Hey, you're the leader, right? And you probably struggle to delegate because on a deep subconscious level, you feel that you have to earn your worth daily. And so you tolerate burnout in yourself that you would never accept in your people. And the cost is that your partner doesn't feel emotionally chosen. They feel provided for financially, sure. And then you live with this constant underlying fear of losing it all, which drives you into overwork and reactivity because you sense it on that unconscious level. You know that everything's not okay. So being the provider is not the problem. The problem is when providing becomes the only way you know how to show your love. Pattern number 2 is the problem solver trap, and how I know this one so well. So when your partner comes to you with emotions, you instinctively look for solutions. You challenge the logic. You try to fix it quickly so that you can move on and help them. And at home, this probably sounds a little bit familiar. Have you tried doing this? Maybe you're overreacting a little bit here. This isn't a big deal. Why are we still talking about it? At work, the problem solver trap can make you miss the emotional work in your leadership team. It can actually make you shut down difficult conversations too early because on some level you're kind of uncomfortable with it. And it can make you confuse this idea that no one is complaining with everything is fine, which is not the same thing. And the cost is ultimately that your partner is going to stop coming to you with what actually matters. I've absolutely seen this happen time and time and time again. And your team's going to do the same thing too. And so eventually you won't even know what's going wrong and people are going to be walking around on eggshells just keeping you sheltered from the truth. Pattern number 3 is the lone wolf leader. I know this one too really well. You've built your career on being self-reliant. You don't ever need help. You don't ask for it. And at home, the lone wolf looks like not sharing your fears or doubts because you don't want to seem weak or seem like a burden, keeping your stress to yourself to protect them, and being emotionally withdrawn or vague. Work's fine, I'm just really busy. At work, it means that you end up carrying too much in your head. You don't fully leverage your team's emotional intelligence. You model this idea that the leader is an island, which keeps everyone really kind of in a shallow relationship with you. Your partner doesn't need you to be this powerhouse, invincible hero. They need you to be human, to be present, to be available, to be real. Because the cost of not doing this is that you are going to feel increasingly alone, both at the top, at work, and in your own home. And when a man feels chronically alone, he becomes way more vulnerable to affairs, to addiction, to simply checking out of his life. So let's get really practical. Here are 3 shifts that you can start this week that do not require a personality transplant or hours, years of therapy. But they will change the emotional climate of your relationship and your leadership. Shift number 1. You want to move from having to fix everything and there being some kind of end goalpost to curiosity. So next time your partner brings you something emotional, instead of going into fix it mode, try this. Pause, breathe, and say, okay, help me understand. What's the part that feels most painful for you right now? And then be quiet and actually listen. You're not agreeing or disagreeing. You're not having to do anything. You're simply gathering data. And that in turn helps your partner feel seen, heard, and honestly probably more understood, which helps them feel closer to you. Curiosity is what you use in board meetings all the time. You just haven't applied it at home. At work, bringing curiosity instead of instant solutions will also make you a better listener and a strategist. You'll notice more, you'll notice it earlier, and you'll have a much more open-minded viewpoint, which will allow for more creativity. Shift number 2, go from performance reviews to emotional check-ins. Many CEOs unconsciously treat their relationship like an annual review. Everything is perfectly fine until it explodes, and then you go for a divorce. Instead, set up a simple 10-minute weekly check-in. Here's a script you can literally steal. On a scale of 1 to 10, how connected did you feel to me this week? What's one small thing I did that made you feel closer? And what's one small thing I did that pushed you away? Your only job is to ask, to listen, and thank your partner for the honesty. You don't need to defend yourself. They're not there to attack you. You don't need to make this into an argument. And at work, if you start doing this habit's going to train a lot of psychological safety. Your team are going to bring your concerns earlier before they become massive fires that you have to put out. Shift number 3, move away from this idea of I'll handle it to we're a team and together we can handle it. You may be so used to carrying everything that you forget. You and your partner are supposed to be on the same team. So try this line the next time there's a recurring issue, maybe about travel, schedule, or parenting. Okay, clearly this isn't working for us. So let's treat this like a joint problem that we solve together. I don't want this to be you versus me. I want this to be us against the problem. And then ask them, what would better look like for you? Here's what better would look like for me. And perhaps you want to sit down and write this down. There's no harm in slowing down the pace of the conversation and creating a little bit more spaciousness to feel safer in having it. And it doesn't need to be a big deal either. You can simply start to operate your life and your relationship as little 2-week experiments. So maybe you try something new, a different approach with whatever it is that you're solving for just 2 weeks, and you see how that goes. Lower the stakes, slow things down. You know how to run experiments in your business. You're allowed to run experiments in your relationship too. This shift lowers the defensiveness at home, and it really reinforces the collaboration muscle that you need as a CEO at work. Let me give you one 10-minute conversation template that you can literally use this week. Pick a calm moment, not mid-argument, maybe after dinner or on a walk or on a Sunday when you're both in bed, and say, hey, I've been thinking a lot about us, and I know I've been very focused on work, and I don't want our relationship to be something that we just manage around my schedule. Can I ask you something? And I promise I will just listen. I want to be here for you. And wait for a yes. Then you ask, on a scale of 1 to 10, how close do you feel to me lately? Honestly. And whatever number they say, your next line is, thank you for being honest. What would it take to bring that up by a point? Not 10 points, just 1. And then you listen. You do not argue. You do not interrupt them. You do not justify or explain. And if you start to feel defensive, you can say, part of me really wants to defend myself right now, but I really want to understand you more than I want to be right. And then you listen. For most male CEOs, the bravest thing that they can say at home is, help me understand how this feels for you, and I will just listen. I'm not going to try and solve the problem, just going to listen. And you end that conversation with saying, thank you for telling me all of this. I cannot promise I'll be perfect, but I can promise I'm going to take this really seriously and I'm going to keep coming back to it with you because you matter and I want to connect with you. And then pick one concrete action, not 10. Maybe it's having a tech-free evening a week. Maybe it's going to bed at the same time twice a week. Maybe it's a standing breakfast, a walk where you just talk about more than logistics. It's not that you're trying to fix the marriage in one night. Of course not. That would be impossible. But you are rebuilding safety and trust in small, consistent moves, because that's how we build trust. And here's the thing, when your partner feels more secure, you're going to feel less pulled into constant firefighting at home. So then you're going to feel more internally calm. You're going to have more capacity to zoom out strategically. You're going to have more energy for the things that actually matter in your role. And your board might not know why you suddenly feel sharper and more grounded, but you will, because when you're happy at home, you're going to be a lot happier at work. Let's recap the core of today's episode. Here are 3 patterns to watch for. Being the provider, that provider mask, over-delivering financially, but under-delivering emotionally. The problem solver trap, fixing instead of understanding. The lone wolf leader, carrying everything alone and calling it strength. And here are 3 shifts that you can start this week. Go from fixing to curiosity. Help me understand what is most painful for you here. Move from performance reviews to emotional check-ins. Just a weekly 10-minute conversation with questions where you operate on that scale can transform everything. And move away from this idea of I can handle it to we're a team and we can handle it together. The quality of your most intimate relationship is not separate from the quality of your leadership. It is literally the foundations that you're building on. If this landed for you, here's what I want you to do next. Re-listen to this episode with a notebook and write down one sentence you want to say to your partner this week. And if you're brave, share this episode with them and say, this podcast episode, this made me think about us. I'd really like to talk about it together because I want to strengthen our connection. And if you're a CEO or leader who recognized yourself in James's story and you want support to rebuild your relationship without burning down your career or dragging your partner to couples counseling, you can connect with me by sending me an email to Katarina@katarinapolonska.com. Thank you for listening to the Successfully in Love podcast. And remember, you don't have to choose between being powerful in business and deeply connected at home. You absolutely can learn to do both.